My brother crossed a line that night, so I kicked him out. He had been staying with us for 5 weeks. Lost his job, lost his flat, rang me on a Wednesday evening with nothing sorted. I said yes immediately because he was my brother, and that is what you do. My wife Sarah had been completely gracious about the whole thing. She prepared the spare room, cooked extra every evening, adjusted her entire routine without a single complaint. I watched her do all of that and felt grateful in a way. I never said out loud enough. My son Jacob is 7. He adored my brother immediately. Football in the garden every evening. Private jokes nobody else was included in. My brother had this particular way of speaking to Jacob like his thoughts genuinely mattered. Jacob would come to dinner still lit up from whatever they had been doing together, and I would think this is exactly why I said yes. I was completely wrong about that. Sarah found me in the kitchen just before midnight, after Jacob was asleep. She placed her phone on the counter in front of me without saying a single word. She had found messages on Jacob's tablet. My brother had been messaging him privately for weeks, asking whether mom and dad ever argued, whether Sarah went out alone, whether she seemed secretive about her phone, whether she had friends my brother had never met. He had been using a 7-year-old boy to monitor his own mother, framing it as their special secret, something just between them that dad did not need to know about. Jacob had answered every single message because he thought he was helping his uncle. He had no idea what he was actually being used for. I stood in that kitchen without speaking for a long time. Sarah stood beside me and said nothing. She had already said everything by placing that phone on the counter. I walked into the living room and told my brother to turn the television off. He looked at my face and did it immediately, without asking why. I put the phone on the table open to the messages. He read them, then looked up and said he had only been looking out for me, that he had a feeling about Sarah and was concerned. I asked him how long he had been using my 7-year-old son to investigate my wife. He said it was not like that. I told him to get his things. He said it was nearly midnight. I told him I was aware of the time. He said he had nowhere to go. I told him that had been true 5 weeks ago, and I had sorted it then, and he would sort it again. He looked toward Sarah, standing in the doorway. She said nothing. He tried one final time, said he was only trying to protect me, and that I would understand eventually. I told him he had spent 5 weeks in my home using my 7-year-old son to spy on his mother, and there was absolutely nothing left to understand. He packed in under 20 minutes. At the door, he said he was sorry, and that he loved me. I told him I knew, and closed the door. Sarah was still in the doorway. I told her I was sorry she had been the one to find it. She said she knew. We stood there quietly for a while, and that felt exactly right. I checked on Jacob before bed. He was asleep with both arms around the stuffed bear he had carried everywhere since he was 2. I sat on the edge of his bed, in the dark, thinking about him answering those messages, thinking he was helping someone he loved, thinking it was their special thing. My brother messaged the following morning, saying he hoped I had calmed down. I read it once and put my phone face down on the table. Sarah made breakfast. Jacob came downstairs and asked where Uncle was. I told him he had needed to head home. He nodded and asked for toast. I made it.